Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Library. You'll find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network, and I want to thank you for joining us. You can check it out on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live. Joining me is, of course, Aaron William Freeland. Hello, Aaron. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too, Frank. How are you today?
I'm awesome. A little busy, a little tired, but stuff going on. Friends, more friends. Okay. Why don't we start with a sport that we both like and we both think is awesome. So I think what we should do is start with the Canadian Football League. What do you think? You think that's an idea?
Sounds like a capital idea.
Okay, then I'll put the I'll put that there so that we can get in the mood. I've got it there. Okay, let's talk about Sean Lemon and his suspension. And
Right. So I don't think this is actually a surprise for anyone, really. The league had originally levied an indefinite suspension against Lemon on April 24th for wagering on CFL games in 2021 while a member of the Calgary Stampeders, including one game in which he played. His actions at the time violated a longstanding CFL policy. Now, he appealed the suspension, and it was heard on August 2nd and 5th, but the independent arbitrator upheld the CFL's suspension for wagering on CFL games. Um, the integrity of any sport is highly important, which is why you also saw a former Raptors player get a lifetime ban from the NBA for betting on his own games as well. It's also one of the reasons why Pete Rose isn't in the Baseball Hall of Fame, even though he should be because he never wagered on his own team's games. But
and Wayne Gretzky.
well, yeah, Wayne too, to a lesser extent, but he gets a pass because he's
Wayne
the
Gretzky.
he's Canada's hockey god next to Connor.
Oh boy. Rick Campbell confirms Nathan Rourke as touchdown Pacific starter. Ooh.
Yeah, so after a couple of rough games, BC is going to be hosting Ottawa on Saturday for the Touchdown Pacific game. It's going to be coming from Royal Athletic Park, and it's going to be the biggest regular season weekend on the schedule. That's the OK Tire Labor Day weekend. Nathan's taking all the reps, and Vernon is not at that stage yet, but definitely coming along. Rourke was 22 for 31 for 234 yards with an interception last week in the loss to the Red Blacks. So this is a comebacker or a rubber match. So it should be interesting to see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. The Argos signed former Ticats defensive back Kenneth George Jr.
It didn't take long. He was released not too long ago by the Hamilton Ticats, uh, and he signed with the Argonauts just in time to be playing against those same Ticats this Monday in the Labor Day Classic out
Bring
at
his defensive
Tim
playbook
Hortons Field.
with him. Well, it'll be an interesting situation. He'll have a lot to prove, and he'll have an opportunity to do it with a team that has their Schmidt together a little better. But it is what it is. So the Isles sign Austin Mack, one of their to a 4-year extension. This guy was an important factor in the playoffs and, of course, the Grey Cup.
Yeah. Now he's only played one game so far with the Owls, but prior to playing for the Owls last Sunday, Mack was under contract with the Atlanta Falcons. He caught three passes for 32 yards on Sunday to help the Owls top the Edmonton Elks. In his first year in the CFL, he's put together an impressive season and was named a CFL All Star while also capturing a Grey Cup. He caught 78 passes for 1,154 yards and crossed the goal line four times. He's from Fort Wayne. If you don't have him on your fantasy team, you need to get him on your fantasy team right away. The other thing to note here is 4 years is a long deal. It's not something you normally see in the CFL, so I'm glad to see that he's
He's
locked.
special.
Yeah, no, he's
Good
one of
way.
those guys
He's
that
special in a good way.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the Riders looking for a running back because Willett is hurt. So Roderick Thompson Jr. is the candidate to fill that role.
Yeah, at 6 foot 210. He was signed by the New Orleans Saints as an undrafted free agent after the 2023 NFL draft. I went on to sign with the Seahawks, suiting up for one game and spending time on the practice roster with the Cowboys. Most recently, he was at training camp with the LA Rams. Um, he played at Texas Tech. He's been named All Big 12 3 times, including his impressive rookie season. He's going to be suiting up for them when they play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on Sunday as part of the Labor Day long weekend festivities.
Tell us about the Ticats changes they made for them, to be specific.
Well, after releasing their one of their coaches, it looks like Hamilton is looking to. I think they prefer the term retool as opposed to rebuild. But Kari Vedvik and American defensive back Cordell Rogers have both been released. Vedvik joined the Ticats in August of 2023 after being acquired from the Roughies via trade. He's originally from Stavanger, Norway. Played 10 games for the Ticats in 2023, punting 50 times for 2,208 yards, 1,699 net yards. Rogers suited up in 12 games, including 11 starts for the Alouettes back in 2023. Got 37 tackles, 2 for loss, 3 pass knockdowns, and 2 interceptions. To go with that, the Ticats have also signed defensive lineman Tim Ward and defensive back DeCorian Patterson. Ward played 12 games in the NFL with the New York Jets in 2021 and the Kansas City Chiefs in 2019 and 2020, registering 17 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback sack, and 1 pass deflection. Patterson most recently attended rookie minicamp with the Kansas City Chiefs this year. He played 12 games at the University of Central Florida with 23 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 2 pass deflections. So I think they're taking steps to address some of the issues that they found on the defensive end, also addressing what I think they feel to be weaknesses up front.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Blue Jays. And Danny Jansen played for both the Red Sox and the Blue Jays.
Yeah. One of those situations where you didn't think it was ever going to happen, but there's a rule on the books for it anyways. Danny Jansen was playing for the Blue Jays against the same Boston Red Sox earlier this year. The game happened to get rained out while Jansen was at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
So he got traded to the Red Sox in between that game and the makeup game. And then during the makeup game, another former Blue Jays catcher, Reese McGuire, who was with the Red Sox, is currently not in the lineup. So he had to step in to play catcher for them, and the Jays had to pinch hit for him. So technically speaking, he's actually played in both games, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's go to your favorite. Come on, it's your favorite, Formula One.
I got to admit it is. There's big shakeups that are coming. This is one race into the second half of the season. Williams has dropped Logan Sargent effective immediately from their F1 lineup. They promoted Franco Colapinto, from Formula 2. Sargent wasn't exactly doing well in F1. He had 1 point in 36 race starts since he joins Williams at the start of the 2023 season. His best finish this season was 11th. He had been given a whole set of clear performance goals, but this is a guy that's wrecked 4 or 5 cars so far this year and has struggled mightily to get out of the bottom 5. So it's a tough move for Logan, but he might land on his feet. Rumors are that he is actually going to be moving to IndyCar. So being freed up right now will leave him to pursue other options in that regard.
Tell me about Daniel Ricciardo in Formula One.
Danny Rick, everybody's favorite driver, whether they want to admit it or not. Daniel Ricciardo finds himself in a rather tenuous position now with the Visa Cash App Red Bull Racing. Him and Sergio Perez are both looking to salvage their careers after Red Bull said that they were actually going to be giving Liam Lawson a shot in 2025. Yuki Tsunoda has been locked up until the end of 2025. Ricardo doesn't have a seat after the season, neither does Sergio Perez. So, where Lawson is going to fit in, Red Bull hasn't indicated yet. It may be with their marquee team, but there is also the very distinct possibility that he could be with the Visa Cash App Red Bull Racing team, which is where Daniel Ricciardo's at. So they've got 4 or 5 races to try to clear everything up, cement their places. If they can both continue to perform well, this is going to be great for them. It'll help a long way into stabilizing both teams' lineups.
Safety in sports is a big deal, and a lot of sports specifically go to the minor leagues to try stuff. In this case, the National Hockey League has the AHL taking a major safety step. Drill down for us on that.
Sure. So a lot of safety stuff that comes into effect is usually started at the lower levels. USA Hockey announced last month that beginning August 1st, all youth, high school, and junior hockey players competing within the organization's purview must wear neck protection during all games and practices. The AHL's release didn't specify whether practices were included in their mandate, but they are the first North American professional league to institute such a rule regarding neck wear in particular. There have been a lot of really close calls. David Bolin had his calf sliced. Ilya Mikheyev had his wrist cut very, very badly. You know the example of Clint Malarchuk, who got his throat cut by a blade.
Still thrown off by that visual.
It just unbelievable scene.
I was watching that game live, so there was no opportunity to turn your head away.
But in this particular case here, they're mandating, because of the risk and because of how players like to have their skates as sharp as they do, this is rapidly becoming something that should be mandatory. And now the NHL doesn't require either form of protection to be worn yet, but they've been spiking in popularity in recent years. Adam Johnson was actually one of the people that may have sparked the impetus for this. He passed away following a skate laceration to his neck suffered while playing in the UK's Elite Ice Hockey League. So that is definitely part of it. Certainly, as a longtime player myself, I've always worn a neck guard. I'm always a little paranoid about that sort of thing, but I'm also seriously considering, especially the nature of the game as you get older and as people tend to fall and slide more. I've been seriously thinking of investing in cut-proof sleeves and cut-proof leggings for myself as well.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry, and let's keep that in mind as well. When you're not playing as a professional, you need to go to work the next day. That's one of the things, the challenges for people who play pickup hockey and the like. Let's stick to the NHL, but more specifically, you've got a Sens Flames story. John Abbott, play-by-play announcer for the Flames.
Yeah. The Flames have actually announced John Abbott as a new play-by-play guy on Sportsnet. He's going to be joining Kelly Rudy, Greg Millen, and Ryan Leslie, who's going to be replacing Rick Ball, who recently departed to join the Chicago Blackhawks. He's going to be coming from, of all places, Ottawa. So their former play-by-play guy is now out on the West Coast. Well, not really the West Coast, but the western half of Canada.
Mountain region.
Yeah. But this is a great opportunity, and Robert Hayes, president and CEO of Calgary Sports and Entertainment, says that they're very, very happy with the addition. There have been no announcements yet as to who's going to be replacing him in Ottawa, but we'll have that news for you as soon as we get it.
Absolutely, sounds great, Aaron. Fantastic. Here's something that I find interesting. What's this? Leon Draisaitl signing a contract that'll have a massive discount. Well, a star player taking a discount to stay with his team. Who would have thunk it? Where would you see something like that? Not in Toronto.
Well, no, that's definitely not going to happen. I don't think anybody really knew it at the time. Certainly
this must be irritating Marner to no end.
Oh my God. when Draisaitl signed his 8-year, $68 million deal back in 2017, a lot of people thought it was an overpay at the time, because he hadn't had a 50 goal or 100-point season
Yeah.
yet. And that's
He
usually the
played into
bias.
that contract. He played into it. And there were times when we could have argued whether he was the better player. I mean, we could have argued a little, especially in the playoffs.
We might have been wrong, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think we would 100% have been wrong. But,
Absolutely.
Evolving Hockey projects his next contract to be $13.5 million over 8 years, while The Athletic pegs him more at 12.5 annually over that period of time. Ryan Rashog from TSN is also predicting that his annual average value is going to be north of 14 million. Now,
oh boy, that's
every
a discount. You let off with a disc. That's not a discount.
We'll get into it. Give me a second here.
Just million would be a discount.
So, as compared to Austin Matthews at 13.25 on a 4-year contract this year, that's about 15% of the salary cap. Given the fact that he's at least comparable in the same, not quite the same level, but he's in the same range.
If you ask Leaf fans, Austin Matthews is twice a good player.
Yeah, but the way everything works out, Nathan McKinnon's getting 12.6.
So please, go on. Discount.
Okay.
I'm ruminating on the discount aspect. Discount.
Boy, that's a
bargain. That's a bargain basement I'm never shopping in. I'll tell you that.
We're getting there.
Okay.
So Nate Max at 12.6, Connor McDavid's at 12.5. Right. That's around 15% of the cap. Now, here's the thing. He may be worth it to other teams, but based on the team that he's currently playing on, he's not worth that 13.8 or even that 12.5, because he's still playing on a team with
Connor
McDavid. So the thing that we're looking at here is you're looking at other comparables like Evgeny Malkin, who is an 8-year deal at $9.5 million per.
You have to look at when he signed it, though, right?
You do have to look at the times that they've signed it, but currently I don't think he's going to be getting anywhere near that. He's probably going to come in more at 8 years and $11.5 million a year. Anybody wants to clip that, feel free to play it at me.
Because he's as good a player as Austin Matthews. I'm sorry. He's not a center, but he's as good a player as Austin Matthews.
Oh, for sure. And he's less of a defensive liability at times. Here's the other thing. If he takes a little bit less than he probably could get, and certainly would get on the open market in exchange for the opportunity to chase the cup with Connor McDavid, I would be okay with that.
That's the decision you have to make. I mean, if you're getting over $10 million, if you're getting $10 million a year, right, and you want to win a cup, the cup's worth a lot. And you know what? If you really care about being a winner, but if you only care about money, it doesn't matter whether you win a cup or not. You just go for the money. And that's where GMs and franchises have to make a determination. Do they want the guy who's going after the money or the championship? And that's the hair that I've always split, why I think Marner will be great. He'll look great in an Ottawa Senators uniform.
The question is, though, will Ottawa be able to rebuild and retool in time?
I just pulled that one out of the hat.
But here's the thing. Would he still be as valuable a player by the time Ottawa gets to be in the contender stage?
Again, it's about, are you looking for money? Or are you looking for a proud moment? Because that's what winning the cup is, right? It's a moment of pride. It's something. Let me put it this way to you. If you have children, will your children care more about an extra million or two, or you have your name on the Stanley Cup?
See, me personally, I'd rather have my name on the cup than the extra million.
And me too.
The other way to look at it is this. If he takes a discount and stays with Edmonton and wins the cup, he is set for the rest of his life.
Totally.
You have guys like Bobby McFist Williamson, who may have played 4 games with the Maple Leafs in the 1970s, making $500,000 a year for showing up at 4 different games to sign autographs. You're set for life if you're a Toronto Maple Leaf, in the
That's
same
the
way that
money.
if you win a
It's the
Stanley
long
Cup.
term. It's the
Yeah.
it's the greed. It's the greed of a player like Marner who wants as much money as he can get right now because he knows he's not Stanley Cup material. That's the problem. He knows he's not the Stanley Cup guy. So he's got to make all his money now. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Maybe I'm assuming that and I shouldn't. Maybe he does think he's a Stanley Cup guy. Maybe it will work out that if he stays in Toronto and gets a little less money, he makes all that money and all that fame. I mean, the whole thing, the whole BS story that Tavares and Marner and everybody else says who plays for Toronto. I want to play for Toronto. I don't want to play for any other team. Yet they still want the same amount of money another team will offer. To me, that's BS. Just take a crap or get off the pot. You want to win in Toronto? Then help them win. Forget all this stupid stuff where you want the money too. Because when you want the money and get the money, the team can't win. We've learned that. Their whole career has been screaming at them and flashing lights. We can't take all the money because then we don't have the money to keep guys that are really good.
And here's the thing, Marner is currently in the last year of his $10.903 million contract. If he doesn't get everything together and power this team through the playoffs or provide some sort of spark to get them to the cup, he's not going to be getting more than that in his next contract.
He's not going to get signed. And Aaron, when you're talking about guys that are making $11 million, I know they say, well, you can't replace a guy who makes $11 million. Well, there are players out there that I think that are making a lot less money than Marner that would be more helpful in the Leafs winning a Stanley Cup than him. I believe there are players out there. And even if there isn't players, then you can build a team, take that money, split it in half, get 2 really good defensemen, and then you become a defensive dynamo, and that can win you a cup on its own, a goaltender. But, you don't have to do it with a forward. Winning the cup isn't based on a single forward.
I think there are quite a few guys in the NHL that would be more than happy to be making $3.6 million a year.
Absolutely. And you know what? The one thing that I have to defend these players for what they're saying and what they're doing, and this is me trying to be fair here. Playing in Toronto, Aaron, is no picnic.
No.
It sucks to be a Maple Leaf at times. It is so draining, emotionally draining. I understand that, which is why it's important that you get a certain kind of player to come here. And they're rare. They're hard. And I picked on one that I think has turned out to be that 88 guy. What is his name again? What's that guy's name? It doesn't matter.
Well, what, Nylander or Lindros?
Yeah, no, Nylander, not Lindros. Lindros was a bad mistake when he came here. It was over for him already. I got to tell you, being a hockey fan and being a homer like I am, I'm a Toronto kid. So I pull for Toronto teams, not because they wear the Maple Leaf or they have a Blue Jay. It's just because I guess I'm giving it away more and more the more shows I do. I love seeing happy local fans. And so I take it personal when those happy local fans are denied an opportunity to be happy. So at the end of the day, the players get the money, the fans get the cheer, right? And I just don't think fans in this town have had enough cheer all the way around. The Argos a different story. They every couple of years they do something, they win a championship. Thank you very much. The FC has won one, but they're on a dry spell too. And then you've got the Raptors that won one, and they're on a dry spell. So the Leafs are the only organization, in my opinion, under the MLSE umbrella that has made money for no reason. They haven't earned a cent that they've received. They have been pigs at the trough, and it's time for the Maple Leaf organization to stand up, grow a spine, and bring guys in that want to win, not guys that just want to say they want to be Maple Leafs.
Nothing would make me happier than Toronto Police Services having to set up bait cars for jubilant fans to burn after we win the Stanley Cup. Nothing would make me happier.
Replacing a couple of street lights wouldn't piss you off.
No, not in the slightest. I will gladly pay slightly more in property taxes to have the opportunity to turn over a bus in celebration.
And see, but you're saying you're willing to sacrifice. That's what you need from the players. They got to be willing to sacrifice. They got to know what it means, the definition of sacrifice, because that's what it takes to win.
If I'm going to give up a mortgage payment to watch these stumble bums drop a game in the middle of the season to the Phoenix Coyotes, then the least they could do is win me a championship.
Or the
Sorry, Utah
Zamboni
Hockey
drive.
Club.
Or the Zamboni drive.
I was jubilant when that happened. Are you kidding me?
Hypocrite.
It was hilarious.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, so we haven't talked about the Canucks yet.
Nope. So good news there. Now I don't know if you remember a goalie by the name of Justin Pogge,
Oh yeah.
but he's actually been hired as the Abbotsford Canucks' new goaltending coach. Marco
Oh,
Torinius was
not
promoted
that
to.
old.
He's retired, dude.
Yeah, but he's like just barely over 30, no?
No, I think Justin's a little older than that.
I guess it's him getting old. Holy mackerel.
He's 38. So
Oh shoot, I'm getting old. Wow, okay.
yeah,
Coach, good for
I
you.
remember him when
Okay.
when he was
I've
just
been
a young
humiliated enough. Let's move on to the Lightning story in the Leafs.
pup. So one of the pleasant surprises of last season was a goalie by the name of Martin Jones.
Exactly.
He came in and he played some good games for us. However, as at July 1st, after his contract expired, he hasn't been renewed.
No.
So the Lightning are closing in on a $2 billion sale at this point. They have some options that are open to them, but what they need to do is they need to bring in someone to help Andre Vasilevsky. Mr. Jones certainly proved over the past little while that he has been good enough. He had a 902 save percentage, an 11-8-1 record, and a 2.87 goals against average with the Leafs, who everybody knows are porous and allow a ton of shots. You put him on a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are defensively sound and don't allow as many shots a game, this guy is going to shine as a backup goalie. Now, I mean, Jonas Johansson had an 8.90 in 26 games last season, but he did struggle with consistency. I think Jones, especially at his age and with his experience, would definitely be somebody to help them solidify their back end.
Absolutely. Disgruntled forward for the Maple Leafs, Robertson. He wants out. The contract stalls. I'm wondering if he's another guy that wants more money than he deserves, and that's the problem. I wonder.
Well, certainly Toronto fans, when he was first drafted in 2019, thought
Never
that he was going to be the next coming.
Never wanted him. He was another small forward.
I mean, the fact that he snapped his leg 2 games into the Marlies season, I was there to watch it. Didn't help. He's been consistently injury plagued.
Good player, but not the right guy for this team. This team made mistakes, and one of them was Robertson. He just was not the kind of guy they needed.
He was one of the guys where, if given the proper opportunities and he was able to stay injury free, he would certainly have made a bigger impact. My issue was I always thought we drafted the wrong Robertson.
Oh, well, geez, that's obvious. And his brother's a little bigger than he is.
Just a few inches.
Like about 6.
Like I said, a few inches.
Yeah, it isn't a foot. But yeah, no, you know what? A good person, but when I talk about hockey here or sports, I'm not talking about a personal thing. I'm talking about his ability as an athlete and an athlete in a sport. The Maple Leafs had too many. They had a couple of $1 million guys, million a year guys that were that height and that kind of player. They picked them up for $1 million, and they didn't use a major draft pick like they did with Robertson. They're making the change now. They're bringing in big players. The question is going to be whether they go to the pendulum too far the other way.
Well, I mean,
There has to be like this. We talked about it in the Canadian Football League. You have to have a general manager who understands that there are different types of players and get the right players in combination together for the coach to coach and the players to play.
He's currently he's going to be 23 when the season starts, so he's still very young.
He's just a kid.
There's hardly any competition for him on left wing.
He'll do great
right now. Are lousy.
Small player. He'll do great on a team if he's the only small player in the top 6. He'll be fantastic. He's a Smurf, right? And the Rangers, remember the nickname they gave the Rangers? They had so many small guys and they won the cup with their Smurfs. That's a rarity to have that good a team and in the playoffs be able to win with players that are diminutive in size. But then a couple of those diminutive guys were pretty tough. that they had.
Now, don't get me wrong, the talent is there.
Absolutely great player.
But you got to swallow your pride at some point and recognize that you're not going to be getting the first line minutes and you're not going to be getting the first line salary that you want in the NHL. That is not guaranteed.
Your
Even
brother's success doesn't translate.
no.
You don't get paid for your brother's success.
On the other hand, though, if they did both end up playing for Dallas, can you imagine how much money his parents would save on jerseys?
Absolutely. And road trips,
Oh God, yeah.
right?
So
You know
this
what?
is
I wish the kid a lot of. Look. He's made a decision. He doesn't like the situation in Toronto. And here's another thing I believe in. As much as I believe in the fans deserve to have something to cheer about, I believe a player should be able to play in a place that he feels comfortable playing in and he wants to be in. No player should be forced to be in a situation that makes them unhappy. Why? Because they're human. They deserve to put themselves in an environment that gives them good, good vibes, good feelings, go to work whistling instead of whining and moaning. Right now, he's doing the whining and moaning, and he doesn't need it. And you know what else? The team doesn't need it. Get rid of him. Nobody's happy. Go. Bye. See ya. Let's see what else we can do.
And one of the opportunities for him could potentially be the Los Angeles Kings. It's been rumored
like
now that
small league players. They like small league players.
yeah, I mean Artur Kaliev is currently at a stalemate with the LA Kings when it comes to his new contract, and with pending trade requests being submitted, it seems like the Kings are just going to let it run its course. Meanwhile, the Leafs seem to be a great trade partner for them with Nick Robertson. So the Kings currently have $2.1 million in available cap space. If they want to throw that at Nick, I certainly don't have an issue with that. So we'll see exactly where this leads. It could be just a lot of hot air, or it could be something great for him.
One of the Leaf bros, Brody in particular, is in Chicago now, and they're saying they're going to help him be successful. Is that a guarantee that you're making? Good for you. I'm glad you can make that prediction if you're Chicago.
Well, I mean, he's 34 years old now. He signed a 2-year deal in free agency to be their D5. He's averaged at least 21 minutes a game in 10 of the last 11 seasons. He's probably not going to hit that mark this season, nor will he likely get more time on the third defensive pairing, but he also logged 214 minutes killing penalties last season.
And he knows how to play under pressure because he was a Maple Leaf.
What exactly? And the media scrutiny is going to be less in Chicago.
It's not bad there. They love their hockey there. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But it's nowhere near as insane as being a Maple Leaf. There is no other. I think Montreal probably comes the closest. And Philly.
Yeah, definitely Philly.
For insane fans, I mean. Insane fans, I mean.
But, I mean, the absolute thing that they can count on for Brody is that he's going to be blocking a lot of shots. And that's primarily, I think, what they're getting him for. They're not getting him to eat minutes. They're not getting him to captain the power play. They're getting him to block shots and move the puck and play on the penalty kill. That's all they really need.
When they figure out he's the next best thing to Where's Waldo.
Hey, at least he's not a Hainsey or a Cece.
Oh, well, look, Cece did pretty good. He got them to the Stanley Cup final.
This is true.
So he can play in a Stanley Cup champ. They came very close. I mean, there's 7 games. I mean, really. Let's talk a little bit about. He didn't actually sign. What? Maple Leafs and Yanni Hakanpää?
Yeah. So this is a little bit of a surprise to a lot of us. A couple months back when they first picked up Yanni Hakanpää, there was news that he'd signed for a 2-year, $3 million per deal. So, everybody was really high on that. Turns out not so much. He was still recovering from an injury. He hadn't played a game since the middle of March when the Leafs actually picked him up.
Which there was a hint of that because they already like LTR was like, let's see, is he going to play first or is he going to go on LTIR first?
I mean, they're saying essentially at this point, Hakanpää's injury is bone on bone. There is no cartilage left in his knee.
That's not good.
So, I mean, he skated with the Stars during the team's playoff run, but did not play in any playoff games. Earlier this summer, he attended a charity golf tournament in Finland wearing a Stars jersey, which was another indication that he had not yet signed with the Maple Leafs. I think a lot of it was Hakanpää thinks that he's ready to go, but the Leafs medical staff are like, no, No, I don't think so. So he's currently in limbo. We picked him up, but we haven't signed him.
Wow, that's just crazy stuff. All right, let's talk us a little politics. A vote on $47.8 billion to First Nations child welfare deal delayed due to chiefs' concerns. It's not enough money, too much money. What's the problem?
Well, the Assembly of First Nations had postponed a special assembly for chiefs to vote on the child welfare reform deal due to concerns about the process and a late translation of the document to French. They were scheduled to hold the assembly in September in Winnipeg, but it's now not going to happen until October or November. Many chiefs have told National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepinak that they're eager to support the draft agreement, but they have agreed to provide more time for other chiefs to review the draft agreement. Because it was provided in French later than almost a month later than it was originally provided in English, there are concerns that all of the chiefs have not had the opportunity to review the document properly in both official languages.
Absolutely.
So,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a verdict expected in the sexual assault trial for a former head of military.
So Hayden Edmondson is a former vice admiral with the Canadian Armed Forces. There was supposed to be a sentencing hearing today. However, it has been delayed for a second or third time until September 16th, after the judge presiding over it said that they needed more time to finish their decision. Justice Matthew Weber was set to deliver a verdict in the case today, but he told the courtroom his decision wasn't ready yet. He said that there were a lot of moving parts. And also, he knows that the lack of a decision is currently looming over Hayden Edmondson. The 2-week trial was held in February with closing arguments in April, and the verdict has since been delayed twice. Edmondson was head of military personnel in 2021 when he was accused of raping a woman on board a Navy ship back in 1991. At the time, the complainant, whose identity was protected by a publication ban, was one of the lowest ranking enlisted officers, and he was in a much higher position of power. This is why she didn't come forward until many years later. Edmondson was directed in February 22 to retire from the armed forces so that this case could be taken care of outside of the military justice system.
Cell phone bans in classrooms across Canada could improve grades and decrease bullying, but is there a catch?
So the idea is for students up to grade 7, they're not allowed to have their cell phones at all during the school day. Students grade 8 and up will be able to use their cell phones during lunch and recess. But as it currently stands, Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia, Quebec, Ontario, and Manitoba have introduced new rules that they help the students better focus on their lessons. Research in the last decade has basically forced provincial governments to introduce cell phone policies, but they're currently concerned about the actual rollout. Psychologist Todd Cunningham believes it's essential for teachers to be provided with the right resources so that they can shape the conversation around the cell phones. But if it's done poorly, you're going to get a lot of backlash from the students. If you do it properly, have teachers talk about the importance of the guidelines, which is to help the education system and to help the students, that will help change behaviors. On top of that, according to an April 22 Statista report, 87% of Canadian teenagers interviewed between the ages of 12 and 17 years said that they used cell phones. This has been shown to negatively impact mental health. So this is another thing worrying about the youth of today and improving Canada's mental health outlook as a whole. A lot of students I know are going to be very anxious about not having their phones with them 24/7. But I'm pretty sure that because they're young, they'll be able to adapt to it quickly. Moving on. Hey, Frank. Welcome
Hey,
back.
buddy. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, moving on. Next thing we'll talk about is rain lingers in Alberta before temperatures dip with snow for some. Snow. Aaron, remove this story now. I don't want to see any discussions of snow. I live with somebody that if you say snow, she'll, oh, never mind.
We're talking the Rockies.
Okay.
The mountains could potentially see up to
Well,
30 centimeters of snowfall.
my relationship could be real rocky if it starts snowing, buddy.
Dude, just get a good weight belt for your back when you're shoveling.
Yeah,
You'll be just fine.
yeah. Keep talking.
Well, we're talking about temperatures dropping into the mid-teens in the Alberta Rockies, with winds touching 50 to 80 kilometers an hour. But yeah, you're looking at elevations over 1,800 meters or over 6,000 feet are potentially looking at snow.
Okay, the Alberta Premier says provinces plan to transfer some hospitals away from AHS. Are they
So
allowed
this
to,
is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
are they allowed to do that?
Well, there was a United Conservative Party members only town hall in Drayton Valley about 10 days ago now. Danielle Smith said that they were planning to lease new hospitals to Alberta Health Services with the option of transferring operations to another operator if they decide that AHS isn't doing a good job. AHS will be responsible for running acute care, but Smith's government is currently trying to break down the provincial health authority into 4 separate organizations dealing with acute care, primary care, continuing care, and mental health and addictions. This compartmentalization of the Alberta health system is basically them trying to privatize it essentially, which is not a good thing. Now, Danielle Smith says the fear of losing a hospital to another service provider will motivate Alberta Health Services managers to do better.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to help help the healthcare system. The NDP critic for healthcare, Dr. Luann Metz, says this is something that's going to inject more chaos into a currently overburdened healthcare system. Competitions amongst hospitals does not work.
Oh boy. Crisis point. NDP slams province over overcrowded emergency rooms. This is in Saskatchewan. Long hospital wait times.
Yeah, so things have been getting progressively worse. There was a patient at St. Paul's Hospital who waited over 140 hours to receive assistance. That's more than 5 days. I couldn't imagine spending 5 days in an emergency room, especially in Saskatoon. That is ludicrous. Now, the Saskatchewan Union of Nurses says that the system is currently at its worst. There were 41 admitted patients with no beds at St. Paul's. They're using ambulance beds, hallway beds, and the waiting room instead. But looking at some of this, yeah, you're looking at wait times of anywhere from 85 to 141 hours, which is, you know, as compared to Ontario's health system, it makes us look awesome by comparison. But
Well, there goes.
I,
That's what happens when you run into a low bar.
exactly, it's a trip hazard.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just terrible. That's terrible. The Quebec government says it's taking action to end illegal dumping in Mohawk territory.
So basically, Kanesatake, northwest of Montreal, has been getting a lot of media coverages and calls for local leaders due to dumping. Fines for illegal dumping, just so we're aware here, which residents say has been going on for years, could reach $1 million for an individual if you're caught dumping, and to up to $6 million for a company. Over the last several months, there's been a lot of attention about truckloads of soil from construction sites around Montreal to unauthorized dumping grounds in Kanesatake, often right by the shoreline. Some community members have accepted money in exchange for storing the soil on their land, often because they're in dire financial straits. But the concern here is dumping this soil from construction sites right by the river could affect local fishing and could affect their ability to earn a livelihood. So
Wow.
this is something that needs federal and provincial input right now.
Yeah, they've got to take care of it. It's just not right that happens. We all know the natives have had a tough go of it. We weren't very nice when we arrived, and we weren't very nice while we were here. And now we're figuring out, at least a few of us, that maybe there's a different type of attitude that needs to exist. The Quebec government says it's taking action. Oh, sorry. 2 women in kidnapping charges in connection with the Quebec Amber Alert case. I got a beef about this, but I don't have the time to whine about it.
Well, I was at 4:23 in the morning when the alarm finally went off. I understand there are a couple of my coworkers that were unable to get rid of the Amber Alert off their phone.
Me either.
One of them had to hard boot their phone.
Yeah,
basically
I did that and it didn't work.
Didn't work?
Nope.
That might be a service provider issue.
That's what I was told by the OPP.
But as it currently stands, the child went missing at around well in the middle of the afternoon. Was found. For those complaining, by the way, on my Facebook feed, the child was found in Toronto.
Yes.
So the reason why it was pushed to everybody is because the child was found in Toronto, about 6.5, 7 hours from Longueuil, Quebec. All right, that's the reality of it. That's the reason why they push it to everybody. Thank goodness the child was found. The suspects, aged 65 and 48, appeared in a Longueuil court today, where they were charged with kidnapping with the intent of taking a person out of Canada, and abduction of a person under 14 with the intent of depriving their parent or guardian of possession. They're going to be returning on Thursday for a bail hearing. Their names are under a publication ban to protect the identity of the 5-year-old, because the 5-year-old was related to them. Now, the good news is the boy was found unharmed in York region, just north of Toronto, but he was taken from Brossard, Quebec, just south of Montreal, by someone in a Tesla 3 with Ontario license plates. So while you're upset and you're thinking to yourself, why am I getting this alarm at 4:30 in the morning when the child was abducted in Quebec? They were found in Toronto. That's why. Okay. These things do work.
I'm sorry, Aaron, but I don't see why it should be repeated every minute, and it should hijack your phone so you can't use it. Just so you understand, I was trying to communicate with my sister because my mother's in the hospital and she's in a bad way, and I couldn't talk to my sister because the phone kept being stolen from me, so I couldn't even text my sister. So they have an issue, a child in trouble. I have nothing but support in my heart, but I don't think you should get in the way of me trying to take care of somebody I care about as well, who's in a bad way. So there has to be a happy medium. And for me, the happy medium is they should be able to send the message out once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, but there should be a span of minutes in between, not every minute. That's the part that bothered me, where I can't do what I need to do as far as safety and loving somebody I love as well who's in a bad way. So it's very selfish to be really nice and really kind and do things like this, but you have to realize the OPP, whoever is in charge of that stuff, has to realize that people also live and have lives, and also, guess what? They have phones for emergencies.
I can certainly respect that, Frank.
That's it. I vented. I vented. That's my point. That's all. Phones are for emergencies too. They're not just entertainment, and they're important issues. Aaron, thanks for doing this, buddy. You're the best.
Hey, glad to be here, Frank.
For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.